Okay, this is a big subject, and not a lot of people are talking about it, and it's kind of crazy that people aren't talking about it. Because what's going on right now basically is turning crypto on its head. And the key to understanding this is a technology called zero knowledge proofs. All right, so let's start with Ethereum. But this is true about every single chain. When you have smart contracts on a chain, what is actually happening? You're writing a piece of software. That's what a smart contract is. You're putting the whole thing onto the chain. And then if someone interacts with that software, a computation is performed. Now, these computations can be simple, but very frequently they're quite complicated. And when this computation is performed, which computer is it performed on? The answer is every single computer that is a node, every single computer that is a verifier, every single computer that is a validator has to go and run that computation. And the problem is that you're not the only one interacting with this computer, right? There's thousands of people interacting in every single block with thousands of pieces of software, which means that there's a whole lot of compute that is being run in a redundant way again and again and again across the chains. This is an extremely inefficient system. And to try and put brakes on that system, to try and put a price on that system, different chains have this idea of gas. Right? So what is gas? In Bitcoin, there is no such concept as gas. Why? Because it's just transactions. You make a transaction, you pay for the transaction, done. Gas is a much more complicated subject. Gas is paying for that compute. And not just for one computer to run the compute, but for all of the computers to run the compute. And the reason this was done was because there was a time just a few months ago where you had to do this. If you wanted to be able to run a decentralized computation, what you actually meant is you need everyone to run the same computation again and again and again and again to verify that they all come up with the same answer. So I think it's pretty obvious that this is inefficient. But until now, we really didn't have a choice. But what's happening right now is going to change crypto completely. Because now we have a new type of proof of computation. Zero knowledge proofs are now being utilized in such a way that you can have a piece of software. You on your computer can run that software and you can create a proof, a zero knowledge proof of the computation. And then you can share that zero knowledge proof with the world. Why is this amazing? Because everyone else can verify that you ran that computation correctly without having to run the computation. All they need to do is do a tiny little computation, tiny in comparison to running a whole computation, to just verify your zero knowledge proof. So you have this system which gets potentially cheaper in two major ways. One, you don't have to have a whole bunch of people running the same computation over and over and over again. And two, you can have systems which are optimized for specific kinds of compute and can do them much more cheaply. All right, so where is this happening? Well, there was just a few months ago all of these different chains that were building roll-ups on Bitcoin, and they were using ZK proofs. And basically what they were doing is they were sort of running all of their computations on their roll-up and then proving that those computations happened to, let's say, Ethereum using a zero-knowledge proof. And this is how you build a roll-up, right? You take all of that compute, you write it just in the form of a ZK proof to Ethereum, and now Ethereum itself can become lighter. But over the last few months, a number of companies have introduced general purpose ZK VMs. This is not a ZK EVM, this is a general purpose ZK VM, which allows you to write software with regular standard programming languages like Rust. Two leading companies in this space are risk zero and succinct. And what this means is that you can now have someone go, a regular programmer, he's never done anything in crypto. He's built amazing systems because today, the most secure systems, the best developers are working in Rust. But, someone who's never been involved in crypto at all can now come write software pretty much the way they've always written software. And they can use this to build a highly efficient, decentralized application. Because now the software runs, and as it's running, it's generating proofs of how it's running, and that can get written to another chain. And at the same time, another revolution has happened, which is Bitcoin OS have introduced the ability to verify zero-knowledge proofs. Tiny little proofs can be posted to Bitcoin, verifying huge, complicated computations in a way that allows Bitcoin now to have an extremely cheap way to have extremely complicated programmability, when just a few months ago, Bitcoin couldn't do any programmability to mention, right? Worth mentioning. Okay, so why is this such a big deal? It's such a big deal because we have been thinking about the entire crypto space as the blockchain industry. Right? It's all been about blockchains. I build a blockchain, you build a blockchain, we all build a blockchain. Everyone runs their own blockchain because you have to have all of these blockchains to run all of this computation in a decentralized way. And this ability that we now have to just use chains as ledgers, where just the assets are stored there and all of the computation happens off-chain. And then, in addition to that, we don't have to replicate the computation across thousands of computers, means that we are staring down the barrel of a fundamental change in crypto. We're going to unchain crypto. We're going to enter a world, we're entering that world right now, where it's not necessary at all to have a blockchain if you want to build a decentralized application. And the whole purpose of the blockchains that came after Bitcoin was to provide layers in which we could build decentralized applications. And so there's a real question now. Which use cases do we actually need blockchains for applications? Do we even need blockchains at all? Now, I don't think this is a change that's going to happen overnight. There's too much sort of inbuilt infrastructure. There are too many people with bags. There's too much community, and there are too many people who just don't simply understand what's happening yet for, the crypto world to go completely unchained, completely chainless overnight. But watch this space, because this is happening. The best applications are going to be unchained applications. You're going to have non-custodial, immutable, incorruptible dexes. For example, a perp dex or a spot exchange or a lending pool, or basically any application you can think of, which are running off-chain entirely. These are already being built. And so they're going to be able to give you the experience of a centralized service, which everyone knows is better UI, is faster, right? Has more throughput. They're going to be able to give you this incredibly, Web 2-like experience with scalability at scale without having to have it on-chain at all. And the same thing is going to happen with the other big paradigm-changing technology that we're seeing right now, which is AI. You're going to be able to build AIs that can't cheat you because all of their computation becomes visible to you. In fact, just yesterday, this is how fast this stuff is moving. Just yesterday, a paper was published called ZK LoRa, which shows how you can use ZK proofs to prove the computations of a neural network, right? A artificial intelligence brain. So crazy stuff is happening. We're seeing Bitcoin becoming programmable. We're seeing the possibility to unchain the entire crypto space and move away from this idea of the blockchain industry to the crypto asset and verifiable compute industry. And we're also seeing the ability to bring AI directly into that as well and make people sovereign, make people have ability to control incorruptible AIs. None of this is at scale yet, but all of it is happening right now. And I think what you want to do is you want to be aware of where the world is going, not just where it is. Have a good day.